Hello and good evening, Chicago. Welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We have got a lot going on the show here tonight. We are starting things off with some baseball talk. The Cubs and White Sox played over the weekend. The Cubs absolutely getting the better end of that bargain. We've also got the Cubs going on right now down in Miami, so we'll get ourselves caught up on that game. We'll just gush about the Cubs a little bit in the first segment too, get you caught up on some news and notes around there. Speaking of news and notes, all kinds of stuff regarding the Bears last week. My gosh, I thought things were going to be kind of quiet other than the schedule release on that front. You know, we've got all kinds of news and things to go over there with the Bears tonight. And then the Chicago Sky tipped off the season last weekend as well. So we'll be talking about that, a rematch with Caitlin Clark. Didn't go nearly like we would have liked it to in the first game. We'll talk about that, and then we'll try to preview the season as a whole. All that plus more coming up right here, right now. It is a full, jam-packed hour here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. So buckle it on up, everybody. Here we go. And hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome back on in to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Glad to be with you here tonight. We have got a ton to go through on the show here tonight. Cubs and White Sox, the Crosstown Classic was this weekend, the North Side edition. We will respond and react to that. Got a lot of Cubs news throughout to go through as well. They're also playing right now down in Miami, so we'll get caught up on everything going on there. We have got also a ton of Bears news tonight on the show. I genuinely thought Bears, all we'd be talking tonight would be the schedule and working our way through the schedule release that came out middle of last week. We've got all kinds of things to react and respond to there from the last week regarding and concerning the Bears. We'll do that. And we've got a season to preview and kick off and tip off a little bit. The Chicago Sky officially tipped off the 2025 season over the weekend down in Indianapolis, taking on their old friends Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. So we will react to that game. We'll go back and look at it and then also try to preview the upcoming season for the Sky. All that, and we'll see what else happens all throughout the show as well. So a ton to get through in only about 50 some odd minutes to do it. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this. IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clinking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnick back with you here. Want to say thank you once again to each and every one of our sponsors. Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, Vital Apparel, Seal the Deal Wax Seals, and then, of course, IE Sports Radio for making this show possible. You heard how to follow along with IE Sports Radio on all the social media platforms. This show is also available for you on social media. We are available on Twitter or X at IESRC. You can follow us there. You can also follow along to me personally. I am at Adam_Karnick. And if you are watching the show live here on Monday night across Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, good evening. Hello. Glad that you are here. Drop us a comment. Let us know that you're here. Taryn Rodriguez in the chat room. Good evening, Adam. Have an awesome show. We're going to do our best. We've got a ton to go through in the show tonight. We're talking baseball, football, and basketball all on tap, all lined up. So let us know if you are watching live. Drop us a comment. Let us know that you're here, and be sure to subscribe as well to IE Sports Radio. And when you do, just drop us a comment and say that you subscribed because of Chi-Town Weekly. Gives us a little feather in our cap. We like seeing that. Makes me feel good about it. Lets me know that people are here. So my mom in the chat, did I grab a sweet snack when I got home? Not yet. I am saving that for after the show. It's my incentive to make sure that I do a good job on the show tonight. My mom stopped by the house during the day and dropped off a bunch of cookies, mainly for the kids, mainly for other people, but there are some for me. I am saving myself for after the show. That way also that I'm not sitting here and you hear me chewing on cookies all during the show too. So let's start things off with some baseball tonight, shall we? We had the Crosstown Classic over the weekend, and it went very well for the Northsiders. If you are a fan of Northside baseball, as I sit here wearing the Cubby blue, and you see the Cubs banner over my shoulder there, I do root for the Northsiders. I have nothing against the Southside Nine, as I have talked throughout my time on the show, doing this show in the nearly 5 years now that I've been doing the show. I have nothing against the Sox. I like the Sox. I will cheer on the Sox when they are not playing the Cubs, but when they face each other, I'm going to ultimately pull for the Cubs a little bit harder there in that one. Oh, and my mom. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to have a cookie regardless of how the show goes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can't lie in that one. If the show goes poorly, I'll probably have a cookie to try to make myself feel better, but we're saving it for after the show. We're saving it for after because the show is going to go really well. And then I'm going to feel really good about having it. Anyway, I know who is feeling really good coming into play tonight, though. Those Cubs, after playing against the Sox, 13-3 on Friday, 7-3 on Saturday, and then 6-2 yesterday in the series finale, getting the sweep. I had put out a little promo video on the station's YouTube channel. Again, if you're not a subscriber on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to IE Sports Radio on YouTube. That way you hear when every single show is happening and you know when everything is current and up to date. I posted a little short on there on Friday morning, giving a short little preview of the series. And I mentioned on there that I expected the Sox to take one of the three games. And in fact, I wouldn't have been surprised had they taken two of three in the series. The Sox have been playing well in the month of May. They came into the series at 7-7 in the month of May. And the Sox had arguably their three best pitchers going in the series. You had Shane Smith going on Friday, and then you had on Saturday. Was it Saturday or was it yesterday? I've got to pull up my I got to pull up my box scores here. It was then Sean Burke on Saturday, and then you had Jonathan Cannon go yesterday for the Sox. So I really did feel like I expected the Sox to take one, and I would not have been surprised to see the Sox take two. That just the way they've been playing and who they had lined up pitching. The Cubs are definitely the better team overall, though, and you saw it. You saw the statistic get flashed there on the CHSN broadcast yesterday that the Cubs, especially the bottom of their order, already has over 80 RBI. The 7, 8, and 9 hitters in the Cubs lineup already has over 80 RBI on the season. I think I saw it was 87, whereas the MLB average for the bottom third of the lineup is only around 55 or so. So you're getting production from all up and down the lineup. And then Pete Crow-Armstrong. Pete Crow-Armstrong just had such a strong, such a good weekend overall for the Cubs. 8 of 14 on the weekend. Outscored the White Sox himself 10-8 in the series as a whole. We are absolutely seeing the next great young superstar come up with the Cubs here with Pete Crow-Armstrong. West Trueblood. Who are the Sox? They're this team that is probably in the next decade going to be moving to Nashville, and then mercy, I won't have to talk about them very much anymore, other than when they still manage to bother people and still make them mad, because the Reinsdorfs just have that special ability to do that, to make you mad and upset, even when they're out of town anymore. But Pete Crow-Armstrong, a terrific weekend for him against the Sox. And we got to see him also. The Cubs have started to deal with some injuries we talked about on the pitching front, but we had it out in the field as well, where we see the Cubs dealing with some injuries. Ian Happ is temporarily on the injured list. Hopefully he'll be back this week and they'll get him back out there in left field. But as a result, not only were the Cubs losing their left fielder, they're losing their leadoff man. There had been talk and encouragement from the Cubs. Get Crow-Armstrong up there. Get him higher up in the lineup. Move him out of 8 or 9. Move him up to 1. Let's see what he can do up there. And he's produced. He has produced up there. Now we'll get into the numbers tonight here in just a minute, but you're getting a taste of what Crow-Armstrong could be. And it's getting flashes of Dexter Fowler from a decade ago, a little bit of the you go, we go with Dexter Fowler out there center field and leadoff. If he can take hold, PCA meaning, if he can take hold of that leadoff spot and really make it his own, the Cubs could really have a thing cooking there, because obviously with Crow-Armstrong's speed, he's not a guy that teams are going to want to walk. They're going to give him strikes. They're going to want to make him earn his way on base, which can really force a pitcher early in the game to show you what he's featuring and what he's trying to do with his game plan, which would be terrific for the other 8 hitters in the lineup of then getting a chance to see early what a guy's wanting to use and what a guy's wanting to feature. So Pete Crow-Armstrong in the leadoff spot can be beneficial for, not that Ian Happ is bad in the leadoff spot, and that'll be a great problem for the Cubs to address once Ian Happ is healthy and back. That is definitely an embarrassment of riches there, to have potentially 2 strong leadoff candidates there in both Ian Happ and Pete Crow-Armstrong. But loved what we saw from Pete Crow-Armstrong over the weekend. Hopefully it is a harbinger of things to come for the organization as a whole. We also had the Cubs early today recalled Matt Shaw from Iowa. So Matt Shaw had started the season with the big league club over at third base, played okay over at third base, but just could not hit the baseball with any kind of regularity. So they sent him back down to Iowa for a month where he was absolutely tearing the cover off the ball and doing extremely well. Was the player of the Iowa Cubs player of the week 2 weeks in a row. So you started to feel like maybe he'll be making his return. Maybe he'll be coming back up. And then indeed he got held out of the lineup yesterday and called back up this morning. He is in the lineup tonight as the Cubs are taking on the Marlins, and we'll kind of go into that game. We'll allow that to be our segue into Cubs and Marlins going on right now. Ben Brown on the hill. Not a great start for Ben Brown. The first 2 batters he faced, he gave up solo home runs. He's then been credited for giving up 6 runs overall. All 6 runs for the Marlins tonight. He went just 4 2/3 innings, surrendering 6 runs on 7 hits. He did strike out 8. Matt Shaw, in his first at bat since coming back to the major leagues, had men on first and second with 2 out and proceeded to strike out to end the inning. So not what you wanted out of Shaw. The Cubs, though, they're scratching and clawing after falling behind 2-0. They jumped out to a 3-run lead. Miguel Amaya is having himself a night. He hit a 3-run homer in the 4th. The Marlins then jumped back on top to go up 6-3. And now the Cubs, now I just saw a scoring change. It might just be 6-6. I'll get an update there in a second. Sorry about that. The Cubs, then Ballesteros got an infield single that scored a run, and then Miguel Amaya with an RBI triple, and it is currently 6-all with a man on third and only 1 out, and Matt Shaw at the dish, and we'll see what, if anything, he's able to do. He's 0 for 2 on the night, but another great opportunity for him here to try to right the ship as it is. So yes, Davidson Crooks, hit that like button, hit that like and subscribe button while you're at it. Thanks for tuning in. So we'll keep an eye on the Cubs game as we go. As for us right now, though, we're going to take for ourselves a quick break. And then when we come back, I thought this was going to be a very quiet week on the lakefront with the Bears. It was, okay, we're going to talk about the schedule, and then I'm going to have to turn it into more than it really is, because the schedule's really not as big of a deal as the NFL makes it out to be. Holy cow, was I wrong? We have got a ton of Bears stuff to have to sift through and discuss and weave around and through. We will do that next here on Chi-Town Weekly, part of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We will be right back after this.
Hey sports fans, are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a down south education on Florida sports and athletics. It's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Are you a fan of Minnesota sports? Do you love the Vikings and hate the Packers? Are you a fan of the Timberwolves, Twins, Wild, Lynx, St. Paul Saints? Here on the Bold North Breakdown, we'll talk about all of those professional teams as well as all the college teams in the area. That's your basketball teams, football, hockey, volleyball, men's and women's sports alike. We talk about them all. Here on the Bold North Breakdown. Join me, your host, Glenn Ritter, every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central to discuss all that is happening in the Minnesota sports scene. Here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. A lot of Cubs there in the first segment. Now let's talk about the big boys. Let's talk about the Bears, shall we? Wow. I thought that this was going to be a very quiet week to talk about the Bears. In fact, I when I was kind of mapping out the show in my head, this was going to be how I was going to close the show, because it was, okay, it's the schedule. They make it way. I know Wes is excited. We're talking Bears. Wes is excited. This is the NFL makes the schedule to be 30 times bigger of a deal than it needs to be. Though I will admit, I do love watching the teams with their schedule release videos. Those are fun. Those I enjoyed. And the Bears did a great job with theirs this year. Did a good one. I enjoyed that and all the little mini controversies there. But wow, what a week for the Bears. So it was all right. We got to bump this up. We got to move this up. We got to have some conversations here. And I think the place to start really needs to be with the story that came out of ESPN last week in advance of a book that is coming out soon. Stories about Caleb Williams and the draft process, specifically how his dad was so vehemently opposed to his son coming to Chicago, that when it was determined that the Bears had the number 1 overall pick, that Caleb's father was doing everything that he could think of to come up with ways to avoid having Caleb come to Chicago, that he really wanted him to go somewhere else. And we heard bits and pieces of this during the draft process. You know, think back to January of 24, where we were hearing about how his father had inquired about, could he get a piece of ownership, and how his father really would have preferred that Caleb play in Washington and not come to Chicago. So this wasn't a complete bombshell, but just so many of the details now, you know, that more of the details are coming out and coming to light. It really is. It's exhaustive, and it underscores, you know, the reputation around the league and around football circles of how, you know, it really just emphasizes things that obviously we as Chicago fans have known for pretty much all our lives, that there's never been a franchise quarterback in this town, with this team, you know, that they've had good looking pieces, but have never been able to convert those pieces into a winning formula and a winning combination. The part that jumped out to me, there are 2 parts and 2 pieces that jumped out to me out of it. First of all, the relatively clever idea of just pulling Caleb out of the NFL entirely and instead going and playing in the UFL for a season, as would that allow Caleb to avoid the draft entirely and then just become a free agent entering his next season. Turns out he couldn't do that, but you see where Caleb gets some of his creativity, where he was talking about when they were mapping out his contract with the team, where it was, hey, could I get paid as could I set up an LLC and then you guys pay that instead of me directly? That way I can finagle and work the taxes a little bit. No, but it's very clever and a little ingenious little idea there. So you kind of can see some of those things there. And then of course, the other big one is Caleb, after having some sit downs and some meetings and getting a tour of the facilities with the Bears, was, no, Dad, this is where I'm going to be. I'm happy to be here. I want to be here. This is where I'm meant to be. Caleb Williams' dad reminds me of the Ball brothers' dad, Lonzo's dad. And the Bears came perilously close to drafting, getting that scenario, which, yuck. Oh my gosh. I wouldn't want that on anybody, whoa. But Caleb is enough of his own. He's strong enough of his own person and his own man that it's, Dad, I appreciate the advice. I appreciate everything you've done to help me and work with me and help me grow. This is my decision. I'm okay going here. The Bears absolutely screwed it up. Frankly, Caleb Williams, all of Caleb's dad's worst fears came to light there in that first season, where you had Shane Waldron mismanaging everything about handling a rookie quarterback, and Matt Eberflus having the wheels fall off the bus, which we've talked about ad nauseum last season. But it through it all, they got the right guy in there finally, in Ben Johnson, to right the ship, fix the situation, and hopefully now we're going to see some success with the team. As Wes points out in the chat, be honest, would you have wanted to come here? Would you have wanted to come to this situation? And I loved Ben Johnson's reaction to it when he was on Colin Cowherd's show last week. I retweeted it and I shared it on both my own personal Twitter and then also on the show's Twitter accounts. Ben Johnson basically got asked the question of, how do you handle this? How do you make sure that now you don't lose this guy going forward? And Ben Johnson basically said, look, what happened. We can't do anything to change that, but we can tackle the now. We have the opportunity to have Caleb be, and I believe he will be, the first 4,000-yard passer in franchise history. And it's an opportunity. If you can make it in Chicago, and this is Wes, this would kind of be how I'd respond to it as well. Obviously, it's a daunting task, but let's face it. If you can make it in Chicago, if you can be that guy and bring a title, you are a made man. You are a king for the rest of your life. Michael Jordan, Jonathan Taves, Patrick Kane, even some guys that maybe wouldn't necessarily be known nationally. Paul Konerko, Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, Ben Zobrist, David Ross. Those are all guys that they stroll into town in Chicago. They don't have to pay for anything. They are made men in Chicago because they brought titles. They brought championships. They brought winners. If you can do that as the quarterback of the Chicago Bears, you won't need to do a thing for the rest of your life. You will be able to ride that coattail. Doesn't mean you necessarily should. I'm not saying that's what should happen, but there's nothing you'll need to do in the eyes of sports fans in this city for the rest of your life. It'll be, yeah, but he brought a Lombardi home. He got us to stop talking about 85. Finally, he got us to stop talking about Buddy Ryan and the 85 Bears. So that's my response to that. So that leads into then this season for the Bears. The schedule dropped last week. I want to caveat, whatever disclaimer you want to put on this next little bit as we talk about it. I am not going to predict every single game right now. I know it's fun. I know it's exciting. I know when you do it with your buddies, nobody remembers. There's this little thing called the internet that I'm talking into. You guys are going to point it out to me, and you're going to point out all the mistakes that I'd make on it, which is fine. But we're 5 months out. We're 4 or 5 months out from any meaningful stuff happening. There's no sense in trying to predict a game that's not even going to be played for 7 months. There's no sense in it. So I'm not going to predict the individual games, but I do like to look at the schedule in more of instead of a micro condensed 1v1 and 1 week at a time. I would like to take a broader look at it because that's how I think you get some interesting takeaways and contexts from the schedule. So if somehow, since it was officially released last Wednesday, and let's face it, there were versions of it that got released in pirate form well before last Wednesday night's official release for it. The schedule is as follows for the Bears. You've got Week 1 hosting the Vikings, Week 2 at the Lions, Week 3 hosting the Cowboys, Week 4 at the Raiders, Week 5 bye, then Week 6 at the Commanders, hosting the Saints, at the Ravens, at the Bengals, hosting the Giants, at the Vikings, hosting the Steelers, at the Eagles, at the Packers, hosting the Browns, hosting the Packers, at the Niners, hosting the Lions. The first thing that jumps out at me, first of all, wow, what an early bye week. Week 5, that is quick. That is a fast bye week, which means you are going to be playing a ton of games in a row at the end of the season. Man, if you can get the offense cooking and getting into a rhythm, You can get into a bit of a rhythm there offensively and as a team and into here's how our week goes. The cons, you got to play 13 straight games, 13 consecutive weeks without a week off. Yeah, there's kind of a sort of mini bye. There's a couple of kind of sort of mini buys in there sprinkled in, but it's 13 straight weeks with a game. You know, there's not any time off there. Also, the home opener week 1, Monday Night Football, a nationally broadcast game on Monday night. A lot of nationally broadcast games for the Bears. A lot. This is a team that won 5 games a year ago. I know that Chicago is one of those markets where it's when in doubt, throw the Bears into a national spot because that will generate more eyeballs. But wow, 5, is it 5? 5 national games. On Monday Night Football twice, on Sunday Night Football once. And you've got the Amazon Prime game on Black Friday, and you've got a Saturday game against the Packers. So 5 isolated, you're the only football game on. Kind of the one Monday nighter against the Commanders is technically a Monday night doubleheader, where you're it. If people are watching pro football, they're watching you. That's a lot for a team that won all of 5 games a year ago. That Bears Niners Sunday Night Football week 17, that one, you realize both of these teams finished in last place in their respective divisions, right? That one feels odd to me. That one feels like if something's going to get flexed, it feels like it's going to be that one. It's going to be that one where they'll kick that down to the 3:25 Sunday afternoon spot. But that's another thing is even the games that are on Sundays, you've got quite a few that are outside of the noon on Sunday kick. Week 3 against the Cowboys, week 4 against the Raiders. Now, you're at the Raiders, so you knew that wasn't going to be a noon on Sunday kick, but hosting the Cowboys, that's going to be the number 1 crew on Fox broadcasting that game. You've got Bears Eagles on Amazon Prime on Black Friday. It's not necessarily a Thanksgiving game, so you can, you're off of your tryptophan nap, so you can actually watch the game. You go out, buy a TV in the morning, plug it up, and break it when the Bears absolutely drive you nuts that afternoon. 2:00 on a Friday afternoon, that's going to be a weird. I'm going to be working, so you just everybody keep me informed of what's going on. Some other kind of more macro things than about the schedule. A bunch of road games early. The Bears between weeks 4 and 14. So the last week of September all the way through to December, they play at home 3 times. 3 times total between week 4 and week 14. That has a lot of road games crammed together. They amazingly never have a 3-game road trip in there, but they do have 3 out of 4 a couple of times. But the flip side of that, once the calendar turns to December, they only from week 15 on, they're at home, with the exception of that Sunday night game in San Francisco. 3 out of the final 4 games are at home. So you get The Browns, the Packers, and the Lions at home all at the end of the season. That can be, yeah. The Bears apparently also do a circus road trip. Yeah, the Bulls and the Blackhawks used to go out on the old circus road trip when Barnum and Bailey would come to the United Center in November. Yeah, the Bears have themselves nearly a circus road trip where they're just, sorry, folks, they're out of town. They're not here. They're not here. They're gone. So that was something that jumped out at me. A lot of road games all crammed together. Again, no three-game road trip. And I'm going to double check. Yeah. Even with the bye week sprinkled in there, they don't have a 3-game road trip anywhere in there. They've got 2. The most they have is 2, but they don't have back-to-back home games until the very end of the season. Browns week 15 and then Packers week 16 is the first time they have back-to-back home games all season long. It's the only time they have back-to-back home games throughout the regular season. But just some things that I noticed from the things that stood out to me from the Bears schedule. I was also surprised that neither of the games against Detroit got featured in any way. I that was, if you were going to put a game in, I knew the Commanders game, I knew that was going to get pegged by one of the national networks. There's no way that game was going to be Sunday noon. Impossible. The ESPN, technically, I think it'll be on ABC, Monday Night Football. I knew that one was coming. But I was surprised that neither of the Lions games got featured in any way. Now, obviously, week 18, maybe that could wind up on Sunday Night Football. That great if you're the Bears. That means you're relevant going into that final week, that final game. That's what you want. That's what you hope for. But it'll be a really good test for Ben Johnson early. And if he can keep them together, then 3 out of the final 4 games at home, they have a chance to make a push and get themselves relevant again and be a team. Also, playing the Packers twice in 3 weeks, that'll be kind of fun. We've seen that before, but we don't, compare that to, gosh, just 2 years ago, where it was they met in week 1 and then didn't meet again until week 18. This go around, it's weeks 14 and 16, cramming them in there. So some news and notes there from the Bears schedule. One last thought on the Bears before we move on. The other huge news from last week, the move is officially on. The Bears announced last week they will be going to Arlington Heights. They are now making that their official priority. They're talking about getting shovels into the dirt possibly by the end of this calendar year. And it all I can say is finally, good riddance. We've talked about it before where, yes, it'd be great to have it on the lakefront. Absolutely. It would be gorgeous. It would be beautiful. Everybody would love it. Nobody's questioning that. It's not possible. It's just not, for a lot of reasons, it's not possible. You own this land, use it. And the Bears made it known at the end of last week that that is the plan going forward. They will be developing that land. They will be building their next stadium out in Arlington Heights. As initially reported, it will be that the stadium itself will be funded solely and wholly by the team. That the only thing they're going to be turning it for public money will be for infrastructure around the stadium, but the stadium itself will be funded by the family, by the McCaskies, and by the team. They're not going to be looking for public money for the stadium itself, which is fantastic and absolutely what they should be doing. All right, we are going to take for ourselves one last break. And then when we come back, we got to see a rivalry renewed over the weekend, and it did not go the way we would have liked it to. Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese, the most recent addition. We will break that down next here on Chi-Town Weekly, part of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Be right back after this. Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Big Mike from Indy Sports Nation. Come hang out with me each and every Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, where we talk things Indiana sports. We talk Colts, Pacers, Fever, Indy Ignite, and we dive into the college scene as well. Boilermakers, Hoosiers, Irish, Bulldogs, and every school in between. And we don't stop there. We'll sprinkle in some NHRA and cover the IndyCar series. From the turf to the hardwood to the track, we got you covered. Come hang out with your boy, Big Mike, each and every Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Indy Sports Nation, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Kernick back with you here for about another, 6 minutes or so left in the show. So we had a rivalry renewed elsewhere, not just at Wrigley Field over the weekend. The Chicago Sky started the regular season down in Indianapolis, taking on Caitlin Clark and the Fever. It did not go the way that we were hoping for in that game. Fever won the game 93-58. Caitlin Clark had a triple-double in the game, 20 points on 6 of 13 shooting from the floor. Angel Reese had 12 points. As I'm getting the box score pulled up here and make sure that I'm not forgetting something for her. Did have 17 boards, so yeah, she did have a double of her own, but still not the start, not the showing you were hoping for. And Angel getting a little frustrated at one part during the game, took a hard foul from Caitlin Clark, turned around, had some words, had to be held back by Elena Boston of Indiana. Both players wound up getting technical fouls after that for what happened. I love seeing the fire and the passion from Angel. I just wish it kind of resulted in a little bit more consistent of a performance there, not just from her, but from the team as a whole there too. Just a rough one overall. Indiana jumped out to a lead early and never relented. That it got blown out late. The whole second half, Indiana just kept piling on. Chicago just 29% from the floor, 22% from three, and only 50% from the free throw line. Too many missed shots. Just way too many missed shots. Combine that with 19 turnovers. Just a sloppy game. Just a sloppy game for the Sky. Very hard to win a game like that, to get things going, to get things going and get this season started on the right foot. Not what you were hoping for in Tyler Marsh's first game as the head coach. He did have some strong words after the game. He said that he saw promise. He saw promise from the team. But this wasn't just Caitlin Clark. This wasn't just Caitlin Clark on offense. They had such a tough time on offense on their own, handling the Indiana defense and then just making mistakes. Marsh did say also that this game will not define our season. I can promise you that. I hope not, because you want to see better. You've got to see better from the team overall. They've got the home opener. They've got the home opener this week on Thursday night against New York. We'll see what they can do. Of course, Courtney Vandersloot is back for the team after a little bit of time in New York. So she gets to face her, after facing her old team in Chicago with New York the last couple of years. She now gets to face her old team again. This time it's with Chicago against New York. They've also got Ariel, they also traded for Ariel Atkins over the off season, trying to generate some more offense, just trying to make this team relevant again. They've, since winning the title, these guys have really, the Sky have really struggled to be a consistent performer in the WNBA. Specifically, they have struggled at the 3-point line. Hopefully this season we'll see an added emphasis on the 3-point shot. They didn't shoot very many of them last year. Hopefully they'll be doing some more of that. But the other thing is, you've got to take quality threes, and you've got to be making, threes. And we didn't see that on Saturday. They really struggled from beyond the arc. They struggled with all of their shooting, obviously, but behind the arc, they really struggled. The other thing, of course, to keep an eye on this season is how will Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso do in their sophomore seasons. They hooked up a few times in the game on Saturday, got some nice play, some nice back and forth between the two of them. Hopefully that'll be a harbinger of some things to come as well. Next game is Thursday night against the New York Liberty. It's the home opener out at Wintrust Arena. Hopefully the Sky will get their first W. We'll have good things to talk about with them next week. That is going to do it for our show here this evening. Big shout out and thank you again to each and every one of our sponsors. Planet Jerky, the premium brisket beef jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Go to planetjerky.net to place your order today. They are still offering free shipping on all orders of $50 and above. Yeah, $50 worth of jerky is kind of worth it from that. That's good stuff. Thank you also to Vital Apparel, the brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Go to vitalapparel.com to place your order, and when you do, use promo code IESR. You get 15% off of your order. Thank you also to Seal the Deal Wax Seals. You're sending out mail, cards, graduation announcements, commencement, whatever it may be. Put that little stamp or seal on there so that everybody knows without a doubt it's from you. Make it stand out. Go to iesportsradio.com/seal the deal wax seals. Place your order. Cecilia will happily help you craft your own unique symbol. And of course, thank you to IE Sports Radio for providing the platform for this. Be sure to follow along on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Drop a comment. Let us know that you subscribed because of this show. Thank you also to Larry B., the czar and overlord of all things IE Sports Radio, for all the hard work you're putting in behind the scenes, sir. It does not go unnoticed, nor is it unappreciated. Thank you to everybody that's hanging out in the chat room with us tonight. Wes Trueblood, Davidson Crooks, Kathy Carnick, and Karen Rodriguez. And thank you to everybody that watched the show live tonight across Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Appreciate you guys as well. And finally, thank you guys that were watching and listening later on in the week as a podcast on YouTube. Really appreciate, whether this is your first show or you've been here for all 232, I really am humbled and awed at your continually coming in and listening. I really do appreciate that. Next week, we'll have some more baseball talk. We'll have some basketball talk with the Sky. We'll see if the Blackhawks have hired a head coach. All sorts of things to get to go through. It's never boring in Chicago sports. Until then, for IE Sports Radio, I am Adam Karnick. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time.